I was taking stock over all the Dungeons & Dragons books that came out in 2022, and one stood out as being well above all the others. GameMasters here, and I'll go on the record to say this up front. This is purely mine and my player's pick as to which D&D books of 2022 stands out the most. Obviously, you may have a different choice, and I'll welcome your feedback and choice down in the comments. As a quick reminder, this is what all came out in 2022. Back in January of 2022, we saw the Rules expansion set, which included a reprint and update of both Xanathar's Guide to Everything and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but it also included Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, which officially introduced the ability to use monsters as a playable species, but also included new monsters. In essence, it was a beefed up monster manual. Up until May 16th, this set was the only way one could get access to Monsters of the Multiverse book. And I'm not really counting Xanathar's and Tasha's books as contenders for the best book of 2022, mainly because they are reprints with a little bit of updates. On March 15th, we saw the Critical Role Call of the Netherdeep book release, which provided some additional setting backgrounds and adventures that were set within the, Critical Role campaign setting of Exandria. This book was designed to take characters from level 3 up to level 12. In July of 2022, we saw Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, a new setting taking place on a floating island in the ethereal plane with 13 adventures connecting to it. This one took players from level 1 to 13. Sorry, levels 1 to 14. In August, we saw a 3-book set release for Spelljammer. The Astral Adventurer's Guide, a 64-page book that presented the astral plane as a campaign setting, with the majority of the book being spelljamming ship deck plans. It also included the book Boo's Astral Menagerie, a 64-page. This one was kind of the monster manual of Spelljammer, more or less. The third book, Light of Xeraxis, also 64 pages, was an adventure book designed to take characters from level 5 to level 8. The last book of 2022 came out in December, Dragonlance, but not only did we get the book's release, we also saw a fairly intricate board game of sorts. The book gave a brief overview of the Dragonlance setting, with the majority of it being an adventure that would take characters from level 1 up to level 11. The board game was designed to be used more as a military battle combat board game, complete with cardboard tokens, plastic units, and such. And while it had ties to the book, it could also be played separately. When looking back at each of these releases, I easily saw one book stand out among the rest. Dragonlance missed that honor by a long shot. It's always been a setting for war, a large-scale combat. But that's the one major thing that was missing from this book: no large-scale combat rules. It was also very lacking in setting substance, instead depending on DMs and players just knowing about its vast history from previous editions. While we had some fantastic third-party material for Dragonlance, I just could not place this book at the top of my list. Likewise, Spelljammer was a bit of a letdown as well. With 3 short 64-page books, Spelljammer is a setting that's all about exploring wild space and space combat, yet there were no rules for actual space combat. Instead, the book recommends that you simply fly close enough for the ship's air envelopes to combine so that you can do melee combat. And I'm certainly not putting that at the top of the list, regardless of how bad I wanted to. The Critical Role book was chock full of great material, but don't hate me for this one, and don't run away too fast. While I know about Critical Role, I'm just not a major fan of their production. As such, there's little in this book that I could really get into. I'm not going to dismiss that there are many out there that love this campaign setting hands down. It's just not for me. This brings us to the 2 final books, Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse and Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. Radiant Citadel was new, mysterious, and while each of the books that came out in 2022 did contain adventures, save for Monsters of the Multiverse, Radiant Citadel's adventures were presented almost independently of themselves, meaning that you could easily take one, drop it into your existing campaign if it fit within your group's level, and play it fine. Monsters of the Multiverse provided a new twist on monsters, being able to officially allow players to play as those monsters, but we've kind of been doing that for years anyway, so at the end of the day, all Monsters of the Multiverse is a monster manual. This leaves Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel as the one book this year that really stood out. I'll admit that a large portion of what made it stand out to me was the viral social media campaign that was presented just prior to its announcement. Around early March, we were given a picture, a riddle of sorts, and I put out there what ultimately led to the title being revealed. And I gotta admit, I thought that was kind of cool. For me, what makes this specific book stand out, aside from that, is I'm still, even today, asking questions about it. What exactly is the oral diamond? What was the original fossilized creature? I even postulated that it may be an old god's fossil, but that's what made this book stand out above the rest. It's like a good movie. It left me wanting more. I'd love to see this setting of the Radiant Citadel develop further. The adventures within are all outstanding, with one of them having a strong connection to one of the NPCs, Shola, an ancient brass dragon that plays a significant part of the Citadel's history. That all said, I do still and continue to pull information from each of these other books. All do have something to offer in the larger scope of Dungeons & Dragons, even if it's only a portion of the book. Ponder over the list of books that we've seen released for Dungeons & Dragons during 2022, and let me know in the comments which one for you stands out above all the others. And if you'd like to see the proof that I have that the fossilized creature that wrapped itself around the Auroral Diamond is an old god, check out this video. And let's chat great D&D books down in the comments. Again, which is your pick from the ones that came out in 2022? And as a follow-up, which is your favorite of all time from 5th edition? Again, let me know down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you have a fantastic new year.